And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 202. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Conor, what's going on?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. It's got to be, a fun time for you between Bean Pot games. And for people who also listen to Bruins Beat, you'll know I just did the exact same intro with Scott McLaughlin, but you're both BU people, so I must ask you your feelings on the Bean Pot real quick. What are you feeling going into BU Northeastern?
Feeling pretty good, Evan. As expected, I was completely confident the whole way during that game on Monday against BC. Even when BC made that charge back, knew the Terriers had it. Wasn't going to get knocked off their game. Was definitely not sweating. Definitely wasn't getting a little nervous there in the third period. Was cool as a cucumber, as the kids say these days. So
yes, the kids are saying this.
No, yes, exactly. The kids with the TikTok dances and all that hip stuff. That's what they're doing.
The gritty.
But yes, exactly. Just learned it, as we've talked about before. But no, great. I mean, I could see that being one. I mean, that should be the Hockey East Championship. But my God, if they meet again in the NCAA tournament, what a great showdown that would be. Because my God, both those teams, like BC, that team's freaking legit.
Yeah, I think they both are. You definitely didn't come up to me at the end of the game and go like, "Whew, that never happened." No, you were cool, calm, and collected, as the kids say. So
yes,
I agree with you though. I think BC holds a little bit of the edge, and it's only because of the goaltender. That's what I think is going to separate them. But I could be wrong. Because if either of them run into UMass in the national tournament,
that's true.
Good luck to you. To you. That would also mean being in Springfield, Mass for the regional, which out of the four might be the nicest. So
that's also true. Yeah,
I think it's Providence, Springfield, which Providence obviously holds the edge over Springfield. I think Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and St. Louis. So
yikes.
That's a hell of a slate. Oh, that's a hell of a slate. They've got to go to teams host it at, you want to have crowds, please. I every year I watch it and the hockey's great, but the fans, I mean, there's nobody there. None.
I saw one where I think, is it next year? One of the regionals is in like fucking Toledo. Like, who the fuck wants to go to Toledo?
Oh my God.
Where the fuck is Toledo?
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't need to know because I'm never going to go there. I don't want to go there. And I don't know why they keep doing this. I know this isn't Bruins. People are getting all... I don't care. I'm going to fucking talk about what I want to talk about. I'm in a mood, all right? We're going to talk college hockey for a little bit. But yeah, I think... I agree with you. I want fans at the games. I'm so sick of turning them on that Thursday and Friday, and the games are great, but it's like 1 p.m, so nobody's there, it'll be hopefully, like, UMass will be in Springfield. Hopefully that means, like, UMass fans will make the trip out. It's not that far from Amherst, but my guess is BU and BC probably would be in different regionals. And hopefully at least one of them is local so the fans can make the trip.
Yes.
So let's hope. Anyways, on to the Bruins. Big win over Vancouver on Thursday night. Little 2011 revenge, little Thatcher Demko revenge for snubbing Jeremy Swayman, I think. I think that was the biggest takeaway for me on Thursday night. But arguably one of their best performances one of their best performances of the season. Vancouver played like crap. I think that needs to be said as well. Yeah. Definitely wasn't their best. But, I mean, I think the way the Bruins bounced back, like after a crappy game against Calgary, I think Vancouver, a really nice showing against Vancouver.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you look at the way the Bruins responded, and it was just so many different areas, right? You have the PK, which has really been struggling, I think, really since the holiday break. They go a perfect 3-for-3 against a really high-powered Vancouver power play, and they get 2 shorthanded goals out of it. Pretty good. You'll take that, I think. But not just that, the fact that you have other guys contribute on the score sheet. You have a guy like Pavel Zacha gets going. You have Morgan Geekie getting the most absurd goal ever. I thought that was David Pasternak's goal where he's just...
That was nuts.
His broken stick doing just a straight whirly bird in the air. I thought like it literally just distracted Demko and that went in, which is like... David Pasternak scored a lot of goals. That one would be up there in terms of one of the most absurd of just like his stick obliterated.
He's like when a little kid He's like when a little kid gets put in the outfield and they're just kind of like playing with daisies, and it's like, no, Thatcher, look at the puck,
Yes.
look at the puck. And he's like, oh, like that was that with the stick.
I
loved it.
thought it was like the TikTok meme where it was like helicopter, like the thing like flying through the air. It's like Demko was just smitten by looking at that exploded stick. Like he couldn't pay attention to the puck flying towards him at all. But beyond the fact you have so many guys stepping up there and contributing defensively, right? Like we talked all about this team, what the bedrock of their success is going to be, and it's going to be obviously you'll take the shutout from Linus Ullmark, but the fact that you only gave up 17 shots on goal really limited the quality grade A chances that Vancouver was able to generate. And again, like that's a team that's at the top of the West for a reason. You look at their roster and just how many guys can really take over on, a shift or in a game, not even just like the Pedersens, the Lindholms. You got Quinn Hughes having a great year. You've got JT Miller, Brock Besser, Conor Garland, all those guys really didn't generate a whole lot against the Bruins throughout that game. So I think that's probably the most encouraging thing. Like, I don't know how often you're going to have a 2 shorthanded goal game. You'll take it. But I think them really playing smart, simplified hockey, really shutting down the quality chances in their own end, that's kind of the blueprint you'll take if you're the Bruins in terms of how you're able to, hopefully string together a pretty promising playoff run this year. That was kind of the blueprint, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I was hoping for the 3 shorthanded goals and 1 penalty kill. That was a that was what 2010 against the Hurricanes. I think that was.
I believe so. Right.
Yes, that was a all time. So
Absurd.
the 2-in-1 period we'll take. I agree with you though in terms of how to beat a team. Like obviously you're not going to get shorthanded goals like that every night. Vancouver's power play is a lot more dynamic than it showed on Thursday. But I just think in terms of winning puck battles and just wanting it more. And I know, again, tough night from Vancouver has to be said. But I go back to they played like garbage on Tuesday, the Bruins did. I mean, that was a horrible showing. And to come back against a much better team. Now, again, there's more hype around it, right? Vancouver, the way they're playing, 2 best teams in the NHL, you're going to show up for that one over a trap game against Calgary, the way that they've been playing. Surprised we didn't see any Brad Marchand trying to pull any flames onto the Bruins bench. I thought we'd see that. That never happened. Instead, we got Charlie McAvoy attacking the Situate man on Thursday night, which
he literally grabbed Conor Garland's head and like his head disappeared. He was like Ichabod Crane for a second there. I was like, Jesus.
It was intense. It was intense. And another one, Brad Marchand gets one of the shorthanded goals. And he's very close to 400 goals. He will hit 1,000 games against Tampa on next Tuesday, which, by the way, is my birthday. So 2 great things happening in one day. That's pretty incredible.
This is like when Michael Scott. This is like when Michael Scott brings the donuts into the office for his birthday to let everyone know that's his birthday.
It's my birthday, guys.
Yeah.
Say happy birthday. But again, he's I think 48 points in 51 games. We've talked about this a couple times this year, and I still feel like you're not really getting the credit that he deserves because, my God, he is even better than we thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think when you look at, the fact that he's put in this new spot now of being the captain, and he's been pretty candid about that. I think early on there was a transition period where, he's this guy who's obviously has been an established veteran leader in this team for a while, but it's a whole lot different when you've got the C on your sweater and you're the guy that people defer to. So you deal with that adjustment early on. You look at the fact that he doesn't have Patrice Bergeron on his line, which people thought maybe there was going to be some regression there of just not having that chemistry that, that we all have seen for, over a decade out there as well. And also the fact that he's 35 and he's still less than 2 years removed from double hip surgery. And again, he's showed that he's played at a high level since then, but still you look at the age plus, the severity of what that procedure is. And it's like, all right, is he on borrowed time in terms of maintaining his level as an elite level player? Hasn't been the case this year, right? I mean, he's on pace for, I think, the first 40 goal season of his career. If not 40 goals, he's going to be right there at 38, 39, at least on the current pace he's on. And I think you look at that game against Vancouver on Thursday, right, where felt like it was one of those games where it was going to follow the same script as Calgary. Like Lauko takes a penalty, 17 seconds into the game. You're like, shit, here we go again, right? After that really lackluster game on Tuesday.
Shit, here we go again. Another great TikTok meme.
Yes, but you look at that, right? And then Marchand scores 34 seconds into the game, and the momentum all shifts right back to the Bruins after that. And that's something that we've seen from Marchand countless times before, whether it's getting the timely goal, the timely hit, doing something to spark his teammates after the whistle, or what have you. That's something that we've seen him do for years now. But for him to do it, at his age with these responsibilities, put on him, plus with the fact that he just doesn't have a guy like Bergeron, he's kind of carved out his own path as the Bruins' new captain. It's impressive, and I think like we all know he's still an elite level player, and he's still going to get his flowers for the year he's had stepping in as the captain. But it is something where I think you look at the stats every once in a while, and you're like, God damn, for a guy that age on pace for 40 goals, it is really impressive.
It is. There's something even more impressive to what he's doing that I want to touch on. But first, quickly, a quick word from Factor Meals.
Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from each week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. No more wasting time in the kitchen. Not only does Factor offer fast, simple solutions when I'm too busy to cook, they also help me stay on top of my goals. With offerings like Protein Plus and Keto, I can stay on track. This is definitely going to come in handy for my New Year's goals. So head to factormeals.com/poke50 and use code POKE50 to get 50% off. That's code POKE50. Factor Meals, your go-to ready-to-eat meal delivery service. And now, let's get back to the show.
So, it's funny. In the offseason, when Bergeron retired, when Krejci left, obviously the discussion was who's going to be captain. And one thing I discussed a lot was if you're not going to choose Marchand, which you should choose Marchand. We were very adamant about you've got to go with Marchand. He's been here the longest. He's the bridge to that core. But if you're not going to do it, you should trade him. And another part of the reason was, don't keep him around to be the assistant again. That's disrespectful. But also, he was regressing a little bit last year. He showed a little bit of regression. Now, he was coming off double hip surgery, so I think that needs to be noted as well. But it was not the greatest season for him last year. And I think there were a lot of valid questions coming into this year at 35 years old, as you said, 2 years removed from double hip surgery. Is he going to be as effective? And I think the fact that he's been not just an increase on last year and effective, but he's been a tone setter. I mean, you look at the shorthanded play on Friday night where he just creates that chance and he just kind of, outwills those guys behind the net and outwills Demko in front. Like, that's vintage Marchand, and that's been there this year, and he's stepped up and he's owned the moment. And I think the fact that he's been able to do that is, incredible at his age, and he does it. There hasn't been a lot of cracks in his game this year at all. He's looked a lot better. So to me, that's been the most impressive part for him in terms of just where he was like a year ago.
Yeah, I think it also helps that maybe it's just playing the Vancouver Canucks just elevates another level out of them.
It's true.
Maybe, again, that'd be a very fun Stanley Cup final if it ever gets to that. But my God, I'm sure Vancouver Canucks fans would not be thrilled about dealing with Brad Marchand again. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of just how impactful he's been. And I think, there were valid concerns. Like, it's not to say that, Marchand's, not the same player he was, but dude was going into his age 35 season with those hip surgeries, not just one, two at the same time.
Hips don't lie. Don't lie.
As the great Shakira said. Yes. Well said, Evan. But when you look at just what his age is, what the amount of wear and tear he's had, this is not the first major procedure he's had. Guy that takes a beating for, a player that's 5'9" anyway. So, I don't think you were, throwing a hot take out there in terms of wondering whether or not Marchand's best years are behind him. But so far, he's been everything you need out of the Bruins team in that role. And I think it's something we've talked about before is that it's even though the Bruins have had some, stinkers this year in terms of really lackluster games. And again, probably that Calgary game is the flattest I've seen them all year. But
that was rough.
Yeah, like even like maybe that the road game in Winnipeg was not great, but like even you look at some of these games where they get,
They
you
had one in
know,
Columbus earlier in the year that was
yeah,
terrible.
but like you look at like that game in against the Rangers where it was what 7-4. They had another game where I think they gave up 5 or 6 goals, but we're kind of bouncing back and trying to fight their way back into the game. Like again, 7 goals is 7 goals, but there's been rarely games where the Bruins just get run out of the building. And I think that also plays into the tone that a guy like Marchand sets, that even if this team is down 2, 3 goals early on, they rarely kind of mail it in. And I think when you look at Marchand and the career he's kind of carved out for himself, the mindset he has, his approach on the ice, and just how he's developed as a player, it really shouldn't come as much of a surprise that a Bruins team kind of takes on that DNA in terms of never kind of being out of the fight. And I think you've seen it this year. It's again, and it's a good mindset to have, especially when there's going to be a whole lot more adversity in the coming months.
Yeah, and they don't, even in terms of like, you mentioned in games fighting back. They bounce back pretty well from game to game. They don't go down much in terms of losing streaks. You look at kind of how they went into the holiday break. They went into the holiday break kind of lackluster. They came out of it great. They've been great ever since. Like, even we have bad game on Tuesday night, great game Thursday. Like, they have this resiliency to them that I think is very encouraging and should be encouraging when the playoffs come around. But before the rest of our conversation, a quick word, Connor, from our sponsor.
Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. I mean, really, it's one of the best sports days of the year. Even in the post-Brady era for Patriots fans, there's nothing better than posting up with your pals, making some buff chick dip, maybe a few nachos, ordering some wings, and watching two powerhouses play. And I don't know about you, I'm going to take a Travis Kelce touchdown in Las Vegas. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W, or 2, or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Again, that's $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. That's a pretty good deal. So go to FanDuel.com/Boston to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
So the Canucks are fresh off of making the biggest trade of the year and getting Elias Lindholm, and had a great opening night against Carolina. Got 2 goals. Did nothing on Thursday night. Bust, sucks. This guy. Why did the Bruins want this guy? I mean, fuck out of here. Go back to the AHL. At the same time, it's interesting though with Lindholm and this Vancouver team. He has not signed with Vancouver yet. The Bruins have been rumored as a team that wanted to trade for him if he wanted to sign long term, and they'll probably be interested in him again when the summer comes around and he's a free agent. Vancouver, to me, and I said this on Bruins Beat with Scott McLaughlin, Vancouver to me is an interesting team because they haven't been through the playoffs yet. This group, they've been through a lot of crap in the regular season, but they haven't gone through it quite yet in the postseason. And if they can sign Lindholm long term, that's great. That's awesome. But if this is a one and done year with Lindholm and he goes somewhere else in the offseason, that trade is going to age like milk unless they win the cup, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely a big risk in terms of just operating with the assumption. And again, like most teams, I'm sure you're one of those things where, all right, you don't sign an extension right off the bat, but stay in with the team, build some camaraderie with the guys in the room, maybe eventually get them to sign on the dotted line before the season ends. That's been the case a couple of times before of guys joining on and eventually signing long term. But it is a big risk for the Canucks in terms of just what you had to give up to acquire them. And it's kind of a weird situation, right? Because you look at Vancouver and they already have to deal with Elias Pettersson and what he's going to cost, right? It's like, what's Elias Pettersson going to cost? Like 10 million, 11?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, he's played his way into that tier.
Yeah, so you have to deal with that. So you have to be allocating a good amount of money in terms of retaining some of your other key pieces on that team. And then even that game on Thursday, Elias Lindholm built a reputation as one of the better two-way centers in the NHL. He's playing on the wing on Pettersson's line. I was like, that really making the most out of a guy who's really good at faceoffs, really good defensively? And again, it's kind of like one of those things where are they more focused on putting him with other elite talent to get him rolling as opposed to having him drive play by himself, which if that's the case, I don't know. I don't know if I'd shell out 8.5, 9 million for a guy like in Lindholm, who you have to either put with other, impact players to really get that. I don't know if he's going to be a regular 40 goal guy like he was that 1 year in Calgary, where I think every player went sicko mode on that team. That was the year where like Kachuk had 100 points and everything.
Yep.
But if Lindholm is a guy that is a very good two-way centerman, but you have to surround him with other top talent to really maximize his value of being a $8.5, $9 million guy, I don't know. I would rather sign a guy like Hanifin and bolster your decor for maybe the same price, if not maybe cheaper. I don't know what Hanifin will end up being. Is it 7.5, 8.5, something around then? But
Yeah.
from the Bruins, I still look more at a guy like that than a guy like Lindholm. And again, as you said, Evan, it is one game. I'm sure he's going to be just fine with Vancouver. He's still a very good player, Elias Lindholm, but it does reinforce in terms of how Vancouver is planning on using him, that if he does go to market, I don't think it's a slam dunk to the Bruins are automatically going to look at a guy like him just because maybe he fits what we expected going into the year was going to be a major weakness of this team, which is play down the middle.
Yeah. Also, the other thing that you have to consider is, let's say things go south in Vancouver, right? Let's say they misutilize him on the wing. The production's kind of down. They're out in the first or second round. Might lower his value. And suddenly he's someone that you could potentially get on the relative cheap and be a center for you. Like, that could be something you do. Now, I still, like, what's his value going to go from, 8 million to 7 or something like that? Like, is it going to be that big of a difference? But I agree with you. Like, if the Bruins got him, he would be a center. And you would move like Zacha to the wing. You wouldn't give the house for Lindholm and then be like, have fun on the right wing, buddy. Like, you'll get your chances. Like, to me, he's a center, and if he's going to be billed as a two-way center, you go out and get him as a two-way center, not a freaking wing. So I agree with you.
You can do that when it's Pavel Zacha, where he's making like what's Pavel Zacha making, under 5 million, right?
I think isn't it right at 5 million?
4.75 million is.
Oh wow, I didn't know this was that much of a bargain.
4.75 million through 2027, so 4 more years under that contract. So guy like that, you could maybe switch around if need be. But if you're giving Elias Lindholm 8 million plus, he better be playing down the middle. He better be driving play by himself. Again, you'll take it if he's with.
He better fix the freaking green line with that money.
That's impossible. That not even fucking Conor McDavid could do that.
Yeah, Connor McDavid at 15 million. He just could never do something like that. But anyway, with Zacha, you mentioned Zacha. Scores one on Thursday night. A beautiful saucer pass from Van Riemsdyk. My goodness. Yeah. But Zacha's starting to get hot. And again, I think he's like 31 points in around 48 games. But again, he's really starting to kind of come into his own, getting hot at the right time. And I think, again, as we mentioned, he's someone that you can put anywhere, but I feel like down the middle right now seems to be working.
Yeah, and he's a guy that I think he's got 6 points over his last 4 games, I want to say. And Ty Anderson and I recorded a podcast a few days ago, and we were looking at players that need a really strong second half. And there's the usual suspects we all know and love. You have the Jake DeBrusk, the Hampus, guys like that. But Zacha is a guy that, again, I don't think it's realistic to be like, oh, this guy had a breakout year last year. He needs to be a 60-point guy. But I think just more of that consistency that you saw from him last year, and especially getting more pucks on net, is not prone to adopting a shot-first mentality. Again, when you're playing with a guy like David Pastrnak, that gets even easier to do, but has a really sneaky shot when he's able to, get in that grade A ice, and you've seen the last couple of games. But I think Pavel Zacha is a guy that if he, again, I'm not saying this guy needs to explode and have 29 points in the last 32 games or something like that. That'd be great. Bruins will take it.
That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Yes. But if he's able to be more consistent, I think, and drive play down the middle on that second line, that'll be huge for this team, because all of a sudden we all know how good Coyle's been. We know how good that top line's been. And when you got guys like Pastrnak, you've got a pretty lethal second line as well. But if Zacha can, drive play himself and bury those chances as well, just makes your team that much better.
It does. And I think it kind of continues to put to bed the questions of, does this team need another center? A legitimate number 1 or top 6 center at the least, because I think he's been working, and I think his game translates well. Even if the production isn't there as much as it should be, I still like his passing ability. I do think his two-way play is good. So like, I like what he's giving you. I agree though, the production could be there a bit more.
Yeah.
Anyways, Connor, that's this episode of Poke the Bear. What can the people look forward to from you over at the Boston Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, we're going to have it covered every step of the way this season, whether it's game recaps, features, columns, looking at the trade deadline, all that fun stuff in the days and weeks ahead. So you can find all that over at Boston.com and the Globe. If you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, you can do that at Conor Ryan _93.
And you won today's FanDuel. My fan's not running. Yours is kicking my ass today. So FanDuel, Connor 1, Evan 0. That's how it works. Anyways, that's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Poke the Bear listeners. Have a great rest of your week.